don't tell mom the babysitter's dead, and that she's dating a vampire. And tell everybody about a whole new pod, a Disney Channel original movie podcast that you're listening to right now. I'm one of your hosts, Lucas Melby.
And I'm the other host, Jacob Telejohn.
And just in time, we're the week before Thanksgiving, and what better time than to have a spooky DCOM in How I Met the President's Vampire Daughter.
I like that. That's got to be one.
No, Mom's got a date with a vampire.
Yeah.
This is a podcast where we watch Disney Channel original movies and talk about them at great length. This week, I took copious notes for the movie we watched because with the advent of Disney Plus, I watched the movie the night before we watched it together, which gave me the power to pause it, and that was a mistake because I paused it too much.
He wrote 14 pages of notes.
My hand was aching up. We wanted to make sure we recorded because with Thanksgiving holiday coming up, we probably wouldn't record next weekend, so we are a 3-week break here, but with the holiday season, we're going to be, encountering probably off weeks anyways. So, hey, we'll take a freebie. I got to play Pokemon last weekend this way.
Oh, bazinga.
Yeah. We don't need to go into Pokemon. But what
that'll be on our next pod where we recap and talk about our favorite 151st Pokemon, 151.
Number 1, Lickitung.
Wow.
We won't talk about Pokemon here, but what we will talk about is our movies, so hell, let's just get right into it.
Yeah.
We said it was a spooky movie, and it starts out spookily.
With the title card.
The opening credits, we're seeing a moon at night. We see the title, Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire, and it morphs into multiple bats flying away.
Yes. Spooky.
I had to turn the lights on. I can't handle this. We then get the pan down from the moon to see a Gothic-style house of some kind. There's a horse-drawn carriage pulling up.
Yeah, it's set in probably the late 1800s.
It's not clear.
These are
what is clear, though, is one of the opening credits says, based on a story by Lindsay Nathans, which I found funny because usually that's not how something gets credited. It's like based on the book, based on characters, story by, but no, it's just based on a story.
The story.
Lindsay, what was that story you were telling? Let's make it into a fucking movie.
Yeah.
And as this movie goes along, you'll probably maybe gather that the story Lindsay was telling was basically the plot of The Lost Boys.
So, is she associated with Lost Boys?
No. I think I clicked on her Wikipedia page and it's basically...
She just watched it as a kid and just retold it?
I don't know. So we see, coming out of this horse-drawn carriage, there's a man who is very obviously a vampire.
Yes.
And there's a woman in white coming along and she's in some kind of...
trance.
Vampiric trance.
Yeah.
Ooh, what's gonna happen? Some other dude pops up to be like, hey, she's my love. You stop that vampire.
Yes.
And she starts to breaks
the trance, yep.
And the vamp's like, oh, you think you've won? You wait and see. But then we're interrupted by hearing a phone ringing. And wouldn't you know it, just like another DCOM classic that's not on Disney Plus, Under Wraps. This is a movie within a movie.
Yes.
But my issue here is we see that opening moonshot and everything, and it is clearly this other movie that we're watching.
It presents it as Under Wraps. It presents it as Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire.
But this movie is not called Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. It's called The Curse or the Return of Count Crustula or Uncrustable or Count Captain Crunch, some weird name.
Didn't the one on Under Wraps actually present it as the movie, as the other movie? I feel like might have
the return of like Warthead or something like that. Under Wraps did have its own very elaborate opening credits with like the mummy and like the Egyptian theme, so that might have led directly into that fake movie. But we were newer back then. We were greener. We were less critical.
Green.
We're more optimistic, and now I nitpick everything to hell.
No.
But the person who's getting this phone call, we see first our main character, or mostly main character. The weight of the importance is kind of spread out through more characters in this movie than other DCOMs. But our character is Adam, who is 13. He's sitting on the couch.
And very unlikable, as you'll soon find out.
Yeah, he is one of my least favorite DCOM main characters. Not quite Cody from 13th Year, but he's not great.
Cody.
But his sister, Chelsea, is the one getting the phone call. She's behind the couch.
And she's very likable. No.
She's also not great, but she's talking to Peter.
Peter.
And she's like, oh, hey, Peter. And she just is talking while she's right by the TV. And it's a cordless phone, so...
It's a cell phone. Was she on her cell phone?
Maybe not in this situation. It might have been the home phone. Remember home phones, landlines?
Like in this, so they do have her on a cell phone. It's not like one of those big block ones. I mean, when they're later, and it just looks almost like a modern day cell phone.
They don't make a big deal about it.
No.
Her divorced mom, or maybe this is the divorced dad trying to get in the daughter's good graces.
It's possible.
But yeah, she's talking to Peter, and Adam's like, "Hey, can you go away?" And she's like, no." Yeah. And it just reminded me of when I was younger, we only had one TV in our house. So when we wanted to play video games or watch TV, it was just, in the family room.
Yeah.
And something my mom would do is I think she, at this time, probably worked early morning shifts. So she'd come home and be kind of tired. And what she would do would be lay down on the couch in the family room and then tell us to turn down the volume or to be quiet. And we're like, Mom, why don't you go sleep in your bed? And she said, I want to be part of the family.
Wow.
And she would just lay there, fall asleep, and become a nuisance to the rest of us in the family that was awake. So I just thought that was kind of funny with the sister here. Probably doesn't have as nice of things to say as, I want to be part of the family. She knows she's probably being a jerk to Adam. Yeah. But she doesn't care because Adam's kind of a jerk, and he starts quoting along with the movie on the TV like a real nerd, like a super geek. And
in the background, you see Crustable talking as...
Count Uncrustables.
And as you see Adam's lips moving too, they're
it's
matched.
Very cool.
Yeah.
But so they start to fight. We see the youngest son, Taylor. I keep getting that. There's too many characters' names to remember, and usually I only remember two. Taylor's kind of peeking up, watching the movie from behind the couch. The divorced mom comes home. That's what my notes say. Her name is Lynette. She is played by one of the aunts, or the main aunt from the original Sabrina the Teenage Witch series. So I don't remember her actual name, but that's what I recognized her from.
Yeah.
And she comes in and immediately stops the bickering between the siblings. It's like, hey, you talking to Peter? Get off the fucking phone.
And we've mentioned Peter, now twice, and we'll hear about him more.
He's my favorite character.
Yeah, which you never see. You never see him.
No, and it's a funny bit where, it's a teenage daughter always on the phone talking to her boyfriend, and this is all the further that gets is he just keeps chiming in every once in a while. So there are a few actually, I think, fairly genuinely funny bits, and that's one of them throughout the movie. So the mom, Lynette, she's upset that they're bickering, and then she sees Taylor was watching the movie, so she's even more upset because we pick up on... it's a PG movie, but it's got vampires in it, and Taylor very much seems to be a scaredy cat.
And
so she sends the kids to the room to go do homework, and she's comforting the youngest Taylor, who
he's spooked.
We can also say played the younger brother and stepsister from Planet Weird. So this might be a first where 2 DCOM appearances within a single calendar year. And I don't think he's in any DCOMs after this. As the kids are storming off to the room, they go, "Moms," and the mom says, "Kids," and Taylor says, "Vampires." And it's okay. It's all right.
No.
Adam is up in his room, and he's reading a magazine, I think, called The Weekly Secret.
Yeah,
it seems to be of the same type as
The Onion.
Well, not The Onion. It's not the National Enquirer, but whatever the name of that paper would be that had Bat Boy in it, or stuff about Elvis being an alien or stuff like that. And in it, he's reading an article about a vampire hunter named Malachi Van Helsing, and immediately goes over to the computer in his room and types in www.malachivanhelsing.com.
And it slowly, as we know it, it comes in, it's all kind of grainy.
It loads in extremely slow, but it's accurate for the time, which usually these kinds of movies wouldn't even show an actual web address, and it's all fake computer stuff, but this was a believable 2000 era website.
Unfortunately, there was not the dial-up noise in the background.
No.
Disney does like flaunting its interest in technology, though.
It's what the kids love. But then there's a knock at his bedroom door. So then Adam, who's supposed to be doing his homework, scrambles around, gets out the computer. Penis. Yes. And the mom comes in, says, "Do you got a moment?" And Adam says, "Yeah, I was just doing my homework."
And she's like, "Yeah, uh-huh."
Lynette gives him a look that very much says, "I think you were masturbating." I mean, he was in front of the computer.
Yeah.
2000 era, probably very slowly downloading a single JPEG of a boob or something. But
nonetheless.
So she comes in and is talking about, so I got this thing, and when some families they break up and they divorce, and Adam's like, I know.
Dad told me all about it at the game. Shut up, Lynette.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. Dad's getting married. And
Taylor's gonna be the flower boy or something weird. Yeah. Bring the rings.
Yeah. So it's like everybody knows, and Lynette's like, "Oh, okay. Well, I don't need to say in my speech." And it's like such a weird way because we've had so many movies where there have been characters who have been divorced parents or like somebody died. And like this scene, like the dad is basically never brought up again. So like why even have this whole setup of he's going to get married? Fairly unnecessary.
Just character building for Lynette. She's in that state of mind, where,
It's something where it is kind of a unique in very much quotation marks.
I think that's what it is too. It's for Lynette's background.
Sure.
And it sets a state of mind, which sets up the date, it just kind of,
And to be fair, this movie is more about a DCOM parent than probably... There's other ones where, Stepsister from Planet Weird, the mom is getting married, but the mom and Cosmicola are hardly characters at all. And
more comic
this one,
relief.
The mom is debatably... the second main
character,
third main character. She's the title character.
Yeah, exactly.
That and the vampire.
Yeah.
So she's like, okay, whatever. And then Adam reassures her as she leaves, "Hey, Mom, you're the bomb." And she says,
What?
Is that good? Yeah, Mom, it's good.
You're the bee's knees, mother.
Parents are just squares, right? So then the next day at school, we get introduced to Adam's friend Duffy, who is my favorite character.
Oh, God, I hate him.
Because he is the type of friend and character that we've seen in DCOMs before, but the way I would talk like them is actually how this guy talks. So he's like, "Dude, you going to the Harvest Festival?"
Yeah,
Adam says...
He's straight out of...
Now let's wait for
maybe
it.
not Johnny Tsunami or... what's his name? I can't even.
I'm disappointed. So he asks Adam if he's going to the Harvest Festival, and Adam's like, I don't know. And then Duffy says, "What if I said my brother got us tickets to the Headless Horseman?" What? That's crazy. So, it's the sick band at the Harvest Festival.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go. And Duffy's brother he's like a radio caller answerer.
Yeah, and he's able to get tickets that he's supposed to be giving away to people.
But I'm considering now that we have our new YouTube channel, maybe I'll just try to pull some clips of Duffy, because he does have a line very later on in the movie that I liked a lot. So then Adam goes into, I think it's his history class, where his teacher immediately solos him out the style of the other me for not doing his homework, where she says, "Hey, why don't you read your essay about who you admire most in front of the entire class?"
Really outs him.
So he gets up there, he did not do his assignment, and he tried to get out of reading, but the teacher made him do it. So he sneaks up there along with the Weekly Star and starts reading the cover story about Malachi Van Helsing.
Yes.
And the teacher is quick to his scheme and also makes fun of him for believing in stuff like that, and then the whole class laughs at him. And that is basically the last we ever see of anybody at school. Again.
I mean, you have his one buddy, and then you have the one that he did the fake handshake with and then kind of like waved off. Like
the whole movie takes place about over the course of, I think, 2 days. 2 to 3 days at most. So then Adam goes home and immediately gets talked to by Lynette about his mistakes in class and not doing his homework.
And Lucas does say Lynette for a reason.
Because Adam also says Lynette. And she said, "Since when do you start calling me Lynette?" And then he's like, "Hey, I'm just trying to dialogue with you here." And Adam, who already wasn't wasn't a super fan of him, ratchets up to extremely unlikable, extremely quick here.
And yeah, there were a couple other phrases that he's saying at the dinner table there that I was just like, this is weird.
And he also just has generally bad child actor line delivery. Yeah. But the mom grounds him for not doing his homework and says, you're going to be grounded this weekend. And then Adam immediately tries to negotiate. Well, what if you just ground me for like the whole week, but then I have the weekend off? And she's just like, nope. And I'm with her. I said, if I was in that situation, I would have grounded him for the week and the weekend because he was being awful.
Yeah.
And somebody else being awful, but to a lesser extent, was in the background, Chelsea, who is eating a pint of ice cream.
Egging on her mom, like, yeah, get him, Mom, yeah.
Fuck him up.
And then Mama's like, well, for that comment.
Yeah, Chelsea calls him a dweeb.
Oh my.
That was a dramatic gasp, but almost too much that it made me cough. But so yes, and then she's as basic as that. The mom says, just for that comment, you're grounded too. Well. But I had a date with Peter. And we'll never see what that date could have been.
Chelsea's got a date with Peter. That's the sequel.
Yeah, if only. Chelsea's got a date with Peter. So Adam goes up to his room and is flipping through the Weekly Star again. And this news magazine basically has everything because it also has personal ads for like people. Dating ads.
Yeah, that was weird.
Which, assumedly, this would be a national publication.
Yeah.
But as we find out,
local.
The ads, or at least the ad they go with, is local to their area.
Yeah.
So they're looking through, and yeah, Chelsea comes through, and he's like, I got an idea. And it's like, well, if we get Mom to go on a date, then...
You can do what? You can go tickle Peter. And I can go, bang my head.
Yeah, I guess we should have really hit that home, that the reason he's so upset about missing this weekend or being grounded this weekend is because that's when the Headless Horsemen are playing. So they're looking through and there's some jokes like, ooh, this guy sounds good. Oh, he's incarcerated. What's that mean? He's in prison. But they do have a funny ad that, spoiler alert, is for a vampire, but it's fairly... coded in it's a funny little paragraph of, oh, it's a guy who loves long walks under the moonlight. Yeah. He's well-traveled, worldly.
They're painting the picture of a vampire for you.
Dislikes Italian food and turtlenecks.
Yes.
So his name is Wolfsbane. So
yes.
And the way they're going to contact him is through email. But you can't just email a stranger, says Chelsea.
Or can you?
It's not like they're some weirdo in a chat room. So if you want to email a stranger, please write to us at awholenewpod@gmail.com. It's not weird at all. Please go right ahead.
Yes.
So they send out the email to Wolfsbane, and their plan is we'll have him meet Mom somewhere in public. They pick the grocery store, which we'll find out is called Food Master, which is a very good name. So,
not bad.
But it's like, if this guy wasn't a vampire, who would go along with this? We're like, we're setting up a date for our mom, but she doesn't know about it, and we're children, but we'll get her out in public, and hey, man, you'll get her. And it's like, is this To Catch a Predator? Am I gonna be arrested?
And yeah, like from this point though, that's like when everything just kind of turns like weird. Where the whole
it is very un-DCOM like because
they're just pushing their mother to go see somebody that she maybe really doesn't want to see, or
the mom is not trying to date, but they're setting up the situation for one of the most selfish feelings in a DCOM, which is we want to go do this thing, so we're gonna fucking trick our mom into dating somebody just so we can get out on the town. So fairly distasteful for our two main characters of Adam and Chelsea. And in the end, they don't actually really learn great lessons besides, hey, that was kind of bad because we hooked her up with a vampire, but I don't know if they just hooked her up with like a bad normal human, if they would have felt
which is all
bad. Which is all men, am I right?
Which, I mean,
he's no Cosmocola, though I would say Cosmocola would have been...
I really don't think Van Helsing would have been that guy either.
Mom's got a date with Cosmocola. They trick the mom into going to the store to get chocolate chips to make chocolate chip pancakes the next day. It's all a little contrived. And they're like, oh, let's split up and go try to find Wolf's Bane because we told him to come to the grocery store. So they're going around trying to find them, and we see a mysterious figure enter the store wearing a trench coat and a fedora. And he says to himself, come to Papa, in a fairly European accent.
Yes.
We'll eventually learn who this character is, and he speaks with that accent never again.
True.
They just the kids go up to random people trying to see if they're Wolfsbane and say like, I fucking hate Italian food. What about you?
As he's picking up like pasta or whatever he's...
Arrivederci is what Chelsea says back to him, and I hate it. But then Adam goes up to some guy who's picking up a cake from the bakery, and he's like, you look like somebody who likes long walks under moonlight. And the guy says, yeah, that's me. How about you? Hey, you want to like fuck this broad? It's basically what Adam's saying. He's like, how about a wonderful night with a gorgeous lady? And like, we know that he's trying to do this for his mom, but like, what is this guy thinking? He shows Adam his cake, which says happy anniversary. And that's to be like, oh, well, obviously I couldn't go on a date with some random woman because I'm married. But like, this guy should be much more taken aback about this situation.
He's smiling. He's got a big old smile on his face.
Is this kid trying to pimp somebody out to me? Like, what is happening? So they are failing, and Chelsea and Adam come back together, and then they see the guy in the trench coat and fedora, and they're like, oh, that's got to be him because he looks so worldly because of what he's wearing.
Yeah.
But then, as they're trying to guide their mom over there, her shopping cart bumps into the cart of another shopper. A guy
who also has an accent, but a real one.
Yes, which I don't know exactly where it is. I'd say British. He looks like a tanner, maybe lower rent, Dustin Hoffman. And we learned that his name is Dimitri, and they just really, him and the mom started off. Yeah, they really start to hit it off.
Yeah.
They go to the checkout together. As they're leaving, he's like, oh, I bought this house in town. I'm fixing it up. Oh, isn't that house haunted? What? I'm a doctor, too. I work the overnight shift. And it's
spooky.
like, stuff that's adding up that, oh, is this guy a vampire?
He's a vampire.
Because they clearly were like, oh, no, the guy in the trench coat's a vampire. But then they switch over. Oh, he's the vampire, but maybe not. We'll find out really soon who is the vampire. And Dimitri... he's like, oh, but you're married, so I can't talk to you. And then she's like, no, I'm not. He's like, okay, do you want to go on a date tomorrow? And the kids push the mom into it, but...
doing something, again, that she doesn't want to be doing because they're so selfish, and which takes away from the Disney Channel original movie vibe.
And to be fair, Dimitri is way out of the league of Lynette. He's a catch and a half.
He's cool.
he's a snap.
Yeah. Wow. I wouldn't say that.
No, he's a tall glass of water.
Oh my.
So yeah, they're setting up this date, and then we see the guy in the trench coat who is talking on a cell phone to somebody that we never find out who it is. And he says something along the lines, I know there's a vampire in there. I have to go back. But they set up the date. Mom and the kids go their ways. Dimitri's walking off. But Taylor, who was along for the trip, who we haven't mentioned so far.
See, at first when he walked out, I thought he was going to go to that weird van that was parked outside. There was like a van like set up there perfectly.
Yeah, it's like a delivery van.
And Dimitri still buys groceries, but then he just drops them because he doesn't need to eat.
He doesn't just drop them. He like throws them against the wall.
That's what it is.
So then Taylor's like, huh? That's weird. He doesn't eat groceries. But what's weirder is he turns to a fucking bat.
And at first, like Lucas had said, he didn't know if it was a big or a small bat. But yeah, he like gradually like morphs, like it's anamorphs. He anamorphs into a bat, and it's like big, but then it just kind of gets smaller.
Yeah, it's a poor DCOM effect, so they can't just have him get into a small bat quickly like a good movie would. He has to become first a giant bat and then get smaller, but why couldn't he just stay the giant bat size? So this I found to be an interesting wrinkle in the way this story seemed to be going, because we got a little minor misdirection with who was going to be the vampire, and then we get further misdirection because you would think, oh, the person who will discover it is Adam, because we didn't really set up, but he's watching those movies in his room. He's got a bunch of horror movie posters, so he's kind of a horror nerd, but he's so caught up in his selfish antics that he doesn't pay attention to Dimitri to pick up on signs or anything. So then it's Taylor is the one who sees, and he's the little brother, so it's a little bit of a boy who cried wolf situation, because as Taylor is wrestling with what he should say, we're greeted with a mom voiceover from a line she said earlier with, Taylor being so scared of vampires that she's like, I don't want to hear a single more thing about vampires. Oh, but what can I do? Because Mom's got a date with a vampire.
But
not quite yet, though. So Adam and Chelsea's weekend plans are on, but we quickly find out on a phone call that Adam has with Duffy that there's a wrench thrown into the mix, and that wrench has the name of Boomer.
Boomer, who's a 10th grader who picks on them.
Yes.
And
so on the phone, it's like, you gave my ticket to Boomer? We have to meet. Hard cut to funky music, and they're in a diner where Duffy is with Boomer, who, is just a kind of a shitty burnout-looking 10th grader, and Adam's trying to win him over with trading him, like, some signed, like, football and baseball, and he's like, this shit's for fucking kids. You know what I'm into? That sweet poon
sex. I want sex with your sister.
Actually, he doesn't
No, he doesn't.
He doesn't bring it up, but Adam, I think, is just like, I know who you like.
He knows. So how does he know that, though? Or is he just assuming everybody just loves his sister?
Maybe when Boomer has beat him up previously.
I want to fuck Chelsea.
Yeah. Something like that.
I want to kiss her on the lips.
So Adam concocts a scheme where he tells Boomer that he'll get him a date with Chelsea.
Yes.
To which Duffy responds, you got a crush on Chelsea Hansen? Which is just a weird, it's like, is it supposed to be like surprising or like everybody likes her? I don't know. But he's like, yeah, but it's got to be a real date. Like, we gotta go to a kung fu movie. When it's like, okay, maybe I can get down with Boomer. He's like, but then I need to be able to kiss her. I don't know if I can do that. Well, no fucking deal. Okay, you can kiss her. And not just on the cheek.
On the lips.
Fucking lips and maybe a little tongue.
Little tongue. Little boob action.
So then Adam's like, sure, deal. Give me my ticket. He was trying to maybe pimp out his mom earlier. Now he's literally pimping out his sister.
And he feels no remorse.
No. And we'll just get it out of the way. We had restraint in saying this, so far. But, Adam finishes the deal and he says, okay, Boomer. And then at home, Taylor is talking to Adam, trying to get some deets about vampires. Like, if somebody turns into a bat, are they a vampire? Yeah, that sounds about right. So what is that bad? Is it bad that he's a vampire? Yeah, it's pretty bad. How do you kill a vampire? And that's where Adam seems to have twisted advice, because he says, what does he say? Like, you stake through the heart, that's fine. Don't let them into your house, which is not a surefire way to kill a vampire, to not let them into your house. It's just recommended, and something that Adam fails at later on in the movie. And then keep his coffin out in the day, or into like daylight, which the coffin is a weird fixation for the mythos of vampires in this movie. But really, vampires are like zombies, where it's kind of a loose mythology around them. Can zombies run? Some of the time. Can zombies talk? They shouldn't.
Just
but
depends who's directing the movie.
George Romero's Land of the Dead does exist. So Adam also says, well, you'll need a vampire hunter like this guy, Malachi Van Helsing, and holds up the newspaper or the magazine.
Yeah.
And then Taylor's like, well, we gotta call him. What are you talking about? He's a shadowy vampire hunter. He doesn't have a phone number. True. And it's like, he has a fucking website
that loads slowly but realistically.
And we'll find out he actually also does have a phone number. Yeah. And we already know he does, because
Taylor...
Well, now we know... Well, we don't fully know who the vampire hunter is.
Taylor calls like an operator or something and spells out his name or whatever.
But we see him talking on a cell phone earlier. Yeah. But then Taylor says, we have to do something. Mom's got a date with a vampire. Ding, 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 ding. We have a title. And also kind of a weird way for a kid to phrase that. He wouldn't say... He would just say Mom's dating a vampire, or Dimitri's a vampire, not Mom's got a date with a vampire. Again, unnecessary nitpick, maybe. Later that night, we check in with everybody. Chelsea's getting prettied up for Peter.
Yeah.
Mom's getting ready for a date. And my favorite, Adam is playing video games in his room.
And when I watched it, I didn't even notice if he had even a remote in his hand.
He had a keyboard. He was playing on the computer, but he was sitting...
Yeah,
his legs were up on the chair.
And,
but the best was he hit a cutscene or something in the game, and he just slowly nodded to himself, and it held on him for a few seconds. So we got all the nodding.
Yes,
and he was very proud of getting to that point of the game. We're just really into that cutscene. And then we see Dimitri. He pulls up in a hot red sports car.
Yeah.
And Adam makes the mistake of inviting him in. Uh-oh.
Well, yeah, I mean, there was like a quick pause there where they're just kind of like showed like, yeah, you know, he's got to be invited in.
Yeah.
I mean,
they didn't belabor it too much, but, you know, it is very much, oh, he didn't immediately walk in. Oh, come in, Adam. So Dimitri's here, but where's Mom? Well, Chelsea goes up and finds Mom in her bedroom freaking the fuck out.
True.
She's like, but he's like a guy like him. He can't like me. Oh, it's too late. You know, I've gotten to a point in my life where, you know, sometimes if I'm just too old. You have kids, you get married, you get divorced, and then it's just done. And then I'm like, yeah, that's right. Old people should not have love in their life. You know, you hit a certain age. Hey, maybe I'm approaching that age, and it's just cut off, and it's over. You're spent. But no, that's not how it is. And Chelsea has it would be a very touching mother-daughter moment if it wasn't for one of the most selfish reasons that's happened in a DCOM, where she says, that's stuff that you've done. Who you are is what's inside.
And then the mom's like, who said that?
You did, Mom.
You did, Mom.
And they've got some emotional, sappy music playing, and it's just like, oh my God, these kids are terrible. They finally get her down there. Dimitri is like, "Oh, you look so nice." He's got a big romantic night planned. They're gonna go to a restaurant.
Yeah.
Maybe go dancing. Go in a horse-drawn carriage in the park. But the mom continued to freak
bumper cars.
Yeah. Hey, maybe we can go to the Harvest Festival. We can fucking knock over some milk jugs. Win a fucking stuffed alligator. Yeah. Okay. Bumper cars. Ever heard of them? She is big about the bumper cars.
Oh.
And Dimitri just kind of plays it cool. He's like, yeah, okay, sure. Yeah, we'll see how the night goes. Yeah. So the couple's heads out, and the kids continue to make sure they're fully ready for the night. And this is where Taylor calls the operator and says, I need the number for a Malachi Van Helsing.
Problem.
So then we see Van Helsing, the man himself, at a car lot where there's a car salesman working very late. If it's dark.
Yeah, I mean, it was dark. I mean, who knows when the sun's setting.
Presumably it's fall.
Probably
there's some Halloween movies.
Probably like 7 o'clock.
Van Helsing, that is checking out a sports car, and the salesman comes over, and he does a kind of cool thing. It's only moderately cool because what he does is he has a charcoal briquette. They didn't have like some kind of cool charcoal. It's just like, no, this is very much something you would use to grill on a barbecue. He crushes it under his foot. And then he takes the salesman's clipboard
and
to blow, gives a big gust of air to blow it around, and it creates flaming footprints.
It was cool. It must have been something they could figure out. I don't think that was like edited or anything. I don't know.
I don't know how they did
really
it.
Good.
Movie magic, and this is magic of a kind that, again, is not established. This is something you do with vampires, but it was a cool little thing for them to do.
Definitely.
And then he's like, oh, was there a guy here who bought a car with cash? Which presumably he didn't know that the cash part was from the footprints, but maybe that's just the proper MO of a vampire, is they pay in cash. And the salesman's, yeah, I did. Oh, shit, he had flaming footprints. I knew he was a fucking weirdo. Not that he bought a super expensive sports car in cash. And then he said, where did he go? Oh, he said he had a date. I sent him down to the main street where all the good restaurants are. Yeah. The game is afoot. So Van Helsing is still searching for this vampire.
Yes.
And then back at home, the kids are continuing to get ready, and they're about to leave when they hear the garage door open, and then they look outside to see Taylor riding off on his bike, and they say, Taylor, what the fuck? And he says, I'm going to go save Mom because you're terrible children. And he's not wrong, and he rides off. So the kids are in a terrible situation that they're not going to get to do their shit yet because they're bad kids and they have to go save their brother. So they're chasing out after them. At the dinner, they're at the restaurant, Mom and Dimitri. Mom's Lynette's like, oh, I think you got the wrong woman. And then Dimitri's just like, no, you're great. And he's trying to be all romantic and cool. And he says, hey, you try the steak. I hear it's good for your blood. A waiter comes by and says, would you like some wine? And he says, I don't drink. Why?
It's so cool.
Also offers garlic bread, to which he goes, no!
He does not want the garlic bread, as we know.
No! Thank you. So, keeping it cool.
He's just a cool cat.
Taylor, this is where we get a part where he catches up and he's on his bike, but then there's a weird dramatic slow-mo where it's also partially everything around him is blurred and he's like the focal point in the camera.
Yes. And
then there's this like borderline metal
music,
rock
the
music playing.
Weird. I kind of hypothesized he's just kind of stressed out being out and alone, like in the world.
He's having a fucking panic attack that his mom has a date with the vampire.
Yeah, that's kind of what it came off as.
Sure, I can see that, but it's
weird.
You don't need those stylistic flourishes in a DCOM because it usually does not pan out how you would envision. It's like movies I would have made in like high school where I had this grand vision, and then when it came to actually executing on it, it always turned out to be shit. But when he's on his bike, he's on Main Street. He's getting towards the restaurant. We do see a movie theater with the marquee for the Lost Boys, as well as Halloween showing. And the Lost Boys is, with that put up there, is a very clear inspiration for this movie because that's a vampire movie about kids who also have a mom who goes on a date with a vampire and they try to prove that he's a vampire. Also, I feel like a lot of similarities or similar ideas to this is in the movie Fright Night, which is about a guy who moves in next door to this horror nerd guy, and he thinks the guy's a vampire and nobody believes him. And as I'm watching this movie, I'm just like, I feel like there's parts of this that could be better. And then I'm just like, oh yeah, it's because they exist in. I'm not a fan of the Lost Boys, but I liked Fright Night quite a bit. I watched that recently. So it's like, oh yeah, a better version of this movie already exists. That digression aside, so Taylor reaches the restaurant, bangs on the window to try to get his mom and Dimitri's attention. But as he's doing that, Chelsea and Adam catch up to him, pull him away, and he's like, but he's a vampire. And they're like, settle the fuck down. Adam says he can prove to him that he's not a vampire. So I thought that was going to be Adam's like going to sneak into the restaurant, kind of observe him for a bit. No, he just
stab him with a steak or drape some garlic over his neck or something.
He just drags Taylor in.
Yeah. No, I at this point too, I brought up to Lucas later on, but like it kind of seems Dimitri, like he has like a sense or like a vibe as they're coming in.
He has vampire powers that appear and disappear as irrelevant to the plot.
Yes.
And
accurate.
Could be useful at different times in the movie, but then he does not use them at those times.
Yes.
Yeah, he just drags Taylor up and it says, Taylor thinks you're a vampire. And Dimitri's I'm so sorry. We must do a test to prove that I'm not a vampire.
It's a really good test.
They do the spoon test, which is a line that Dimitri feeds to Adam, and Adam tries to pretend that, oh yes, that's obviously
he's like, what? And then Dimitri's like, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. He's like, oh yes, the test
ends up to be that a vampire cannot hang a spoon on his nose.
I mean, that might be true. I don't know. I've never met a vampire.
Looking into this, the way to effectively hang a spoon on your nose, which Dimitri does, is you breathe on it so the condensation makes it stick to your nose a bit. But as I was watching, like, is there an actual spoon test that like you could do? I would think you could see the vampire's lack of reflection in the spoon. That could be one. True. Or you would need to breathe on the spoon, but in a lot of fiction, vampires don't have heartbeats or breath because they're undead or, dead and alive, whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
And none of that holds true here. So there could be a real spoon test in there somewhere. This is obviously made up one. Yeah. The idea was, if a vampire hangs a spoon on his nose, he'll burst into a million pieces. Yes. Oh, that doesn't happen. He's clearly not a vampire. All right, Taylor, let's go home. But as Adam is taking Taylor out of the restaurant, we see a mirror. And in the mirror, we only see Lynette. And she's talking to nobody because he's a vampire. And oh no. But Adam still takes Taylor home with Chelsea. And they apparently had called a babysitter before they left to go chase down Taylor. And so the babysitter is waiting there
chilling at home. Talking on the phone, as teens do.
And when Taylor does learn that, you called the babysitter, Taylor does lay into them and be like, you're the fucking worst. You set up mom with a fucking vampire just so you could do whatever the fuck you want.
No.
And he's not wrong at all.
No.
But he gets left off at home thinking that Dimitri's not a vampire. And then Adam turns to Chelsea to say, yo, Dimitri's totally a fucking vampire. Chelsea's not buying it, but she's willing to put up with him for reasons, even though it's delaying her date with Peter.
Yeah, who we never see again.
Yeah.
He's just He's brought up multiple times, just never exists.
Mom and Dimitri, we see them go into a rockabilly club. What is rockabilly? Probably the closest approximation
Elvis Presley.
Elvis era sounding music, maybe a little like swingy, Brian Setzer orchestra kind of stuff.
They're all dressed up in rolled up flannels. I don't know, rolled up dress. So shirts. As they're going in, Lynette's like, "Oh, I can't believe this place is still open. Do you like rockabilly music?" And Dimitri says, "Yeah, I love it." And she's like, "Oh my God, that's so crazy." Which implies that not a lot of people like rockabilly music, but inside this club, whole bunch. It's popping.
It is popping the fuck off. People are losing their shit over some rockabilly. So they go in, they're dancing about. Then back home, we see some stuff with Tiffany, the babysitter who... It's tough. Duffy is one of my favorites, but I feel like Tiffany is pretty good because she's on the phone talking to somebody while she is apparently playing a game of Sorry with Taylor, but basically she's not playing. And on the phone, she just says, "No way. No way. No way. No way." And then later on, she just says, "Totally. Totally. Totally." But then, as Taylor wins the game of Sorry, is about to go to bed, we hear a knock at the door, and who is it? It's Malachi Van Helsing, because he had gotten... we didn't really go into it, but after he got the operator's number for Van Helsing, Taylor left a message for him, so... He just shows up, and he's like a mid-40s guy, probably.
And he doesn't come in at first because they're getting across the message of, stranger danger. He's like, I can't come in.
No, it's because he's actually a vampire, and he also needed to be invited.
I thought about that, too. That thought did cross my mind.
Tiffany, not worried at all about this grown man coming in with this child.
He's hanging out.
She just says, hey, he really needs to go to bed, so, don't keep him up too late. And then also gives him crap for saying that he's a vampire hunter.
Yes.
So then, back at the club, Chelsea and Adam had caught up, and Adam sneaks in. I should say, Van Helsing's like, "Oh, shit, your mom's with the vampire. I'll go save her." Adam's like, "I want to come." He says no, and then he leaves. We'll see Adam pop up in his car later on, or not Adam, Taylor. There's too many fucking names in this movie. Taylor, what a fucking rascal. So Adam and Chelsea are at the club. Adam slips in. Chelsea leaves or stays with their bikes in the fucking alley,
which is really sketchy.
So Adam goes in and convinces some guy to go dance with Lynette, who he sees. But then Dimitri
and the guy is easily persuaded.
He's like, I hear you don't dance. I fucking dance all the time. Well, I dare you to go dance with that lady. Okay.
Well, yeah. At first, they were talking about that other girls were saying that he doesn't dance, or they were talking shit about him, or something weird.
I didn't feel like going into it because it involved Adam being obnoxious.
Yeah,
and I just
it was
but this guy goes over and asks Lynette if she wants to dance, and she's like, "Oh, sure. Is that okay, Dimitri?" And Dimitri uses mysterious vampire powers to push him away.
And he stares at him for an awkward amount of time.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You were just leaving." And then the guy just starts backing up, but he's flailing his arms because he's self-aware. He's not in a trance.
Yeah.
He's self-aware that he's just thrown backwards.
It's the vampiric telekinesis that all vampires have.
That was weird.
And then Adam's looking on and sees this, and he's like, "Oh shit, whatever." He seems really unfazed by the vampire powers on display. And then we see Malachi driving, and this is where Taylor springs up from his back seat, and then he's like, "Ah, fuck! Am I gonna get caught by the cops for kidnapping this child?"
You gotta think though too, so the babysitter just thinks he's sleeping upstairs?
Babysitter is enthralled with her phone conversation.
Yeah. So yeah, he snuck out the window. I think that's what he said.
And Malachi has a really great line here where he says, "You can't come with me. I'm going after a real live dead vampire." Ha!
I don't remember that. The live dead.
Yeah, because obviously there's no real live vampires. Even though he has breath that allowed him to put the spoon on his fucking nose.
True.
What? But yeah, Malachi just seems resigned. Okay, sure, I'll let you tag along.
What is he going to do? Just throw the kid out on the side of the road? No, Taylor.
But then Adam is talking to some of the band members that are playing, and earlier in the movie, there was a thrown-away line of the mom previously being in a band. So the band members were like, oh, shit, we've got somebody from, I think it was like Cowgirl Blues was the band she was in.
Something like that,
Oh, she used to tear this fucking joint down. Bring her up here, come sing a song. So the mom obliges, and she sings a...
Dimitri just seems like...
He's pissed the fuck out.
He's like mind blown, like, what the hell? I want her to go back and suck her out, suck her off.
We can spend a little time going into what his motivations are, because in the ad it does say that he's looking for like a woman who like you can spend a lifetime with or something. And some of what he says at different points in the movie implies that this whole connection was to find somebody else to turn into a vampire. But then he also seems clearly pissed with her. So it's like, why doesn't he just like cut his losses? Just like get a drain, suck her blood.
Yeah.
And then try again later. Like he clearly already does not like Lynette. So why would you want to spend the rest of eternity with her? But he's putting up with it now, super annoyed. The song she's singing is kind of country, not rockabilly at all.
She doesn't sound bad.
No, it seemed to be actually the actress singing.
Yeah,
and
it was good.
Told Jacob this when we were watching a movie, and this can apply to any DCOM. Never go in expecting a music number with the mom.
No.
You always expect, the kid or something. So,
or like NSYNC or Backstreet Boys in the background.
But as we say, the mom is a big part of this movie, so it's a nice little moment for her.
Yeah. Nice.
But as she's singing, Adam then goes up to a bouncer and convinces them to throw out Dimitri.
Because he's creeping. He's been creeping on his mom. And he's like, anything for Lynette, whatever.
Lynette Hanson.
Lynette, anything for her.
I'm not going to abide by no fucking stalkers of Lynette Hanson. But also, kid, you can't be in here because this is a bar.
Yes.
But then, seemingly, nobody drinks alcohol there.
No, they're all drinking water or juice.
Chelsea, who is out in the alleyway by their bikes, sees Dimitri get thrown out by the bouncers into their bikes. And then we get a very poor sequence of shots where we are supposed to be seeing Dimitri freaking out and showing off his crazy vampiric strength to bend the bikes. But we don't see him do it. The bikes are cut off from the bottom of the frame, and we just hear the sound of metal wrenching, and Chelsea looking horrified. And then, to look even further horrified, he then starts to walk up the wall.
He pauses at a weird angle so they could get the edit together properly, and then he strolls on up the wall.
And then Adam sees him back in the club, and he's like, Nani, the fuck?
Well, do they have roof access on this building?
Or just, there might have been a window. I don't know. Yeah, it's not clear.
Who knows?
Yeah, as I was watching, I'm like, wait, what is he going to do? And then it's like, oh, he's in the club, and I wasn't really even picking up on it as I was watching the movie. So then he runs out to find Chelsea and say, what the hell happened? And Chelsea says, Dimitri just walked up the wall. Is that a vampire thing? And Adam says, yeah, it is. And I say, is it? Is walking on walls a vampire thing? Because we already know in this version of vampires, he can turn into a bat. So he could have just turned into a bat and went through the window.
There you go.
But no, he had to flex. Apparently, Spider-Man could also be a vampire because he can walk on walls.
I think it was more so their effects team. They're like, you know what we can do? You know what I just learned? I learned how we can make somebody look like they're walking up the wall.
Whatever the case may be, it's a weird thing for a vampire to walk up a wall. Yeah. But then, as they're talking, they see that their bikes are completely mangled by the vampiric strength of Dimitri. And then they see the sports car drive away with Mom and Dimitri in it. And they're like, shit, where are they going to go? And then Chelsea comes up with the idea that, because guys always want girls to like them, so they go where the girls want. Where does Mom want to go? The Harvest Festival.
Yes.
How can we get there? It's so far away, and our bikes are broken. Hold your phone. And by hold your phone, I mean give it to me so I can dial the number of Duffy. My buddy. We see very briefly Duffy's brother driving the family van.
Yes.
Duffy's in the front seat.
And Boomer.
Boomer is in the back, kind of giving some creepy eyes to...
checking out...
Chelsea. And then basically my favorite line of the movie comes from Duffy here. He says, so he's a vampire. Does that mean he drives a hearse or something? It's like, I'm telling you that my mom is dating a vampire.
Yes.
And your reaction isn't, I don't believe you, or that's crazy is, what does he drive? Like, that's the sticking point. Like, if he drives a sports car, I don't think he can be a vampire. But they get to the Harvest Festival.
Yeah.
The other dudes are going to the show. Duffy even says, okay, boomer. I bet somebody's going to sell a ticket to you. But they're like, yo, we need to go save our mom. And they're like, but the Headless Horseman.
Yeah.
And Boomer isn't actually going to go with Duffy because he's going to cash in on his date with Chelsea here and now. Yes. And Chelsea...
Like, what? Huh? What? Huh?
He says, hey, come on, Chelsea, playing hard to get. Let's go get a corn dog. Then he lets drop in front of Chelsea.
Adam says.
Or basically like, oh, what about our deal?
Or something,
and then, basically it gets out and Chelsea hears that he set up this deal to not even pimp her out. It's like a thing that happens in movies or TV shows. It's like, I'll get you a date with my sister. And it never happens. But the way this movie treats it, it's like, as serious as we were like kind of joke pretending it was, but like Boomer was creepy. He was acting like an entitled boomer, if you will. And you know, hey, you're a real piece of meat, hey? Let's go get a corn dog. Yeah, so there's this emotional music swell. Chelsea runs away. Adam catches up and says, oh, I'm so sorry. And she's like, how could you? Of all the things, of all the selfish things. And then basically, Adam's like, well, you kind of suck too because we just did the same thing to mom, really. And she's like, that was your idea. So Chelsea, I'll say not as bad as Adam, but still taking no really responsibility.
True.
Both of them are bad. And then she says, well, that was your idea. And then Adam says, well, I've changed. Things were different back then. And she said, this afternoon? And it's like, yeah, not that much time has taken place. And the way they're treating this scene, that there could be some kind of personal growth or lesson for Adam to have learned, it just doesn't add up.
No.
And then he spouts out some kind of dumb life lesson that I don't even really remember what it was. And
I couldn't say it.
She's convinced, and it's like, okay, the late chapter disagreement that has to happen in these kinds of movies is over. Let's go find the fucking vampire and mom.
No.
So they split up, start scoping around. At some point here, we see the other dudes, Duffy and his brother,
come across the car.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, this must be the vampire's car.
And they look kind of mischievous. They're like,
Duffy makes quite the look.
Yeah, and then we don't see what they do, but later on we see that they might have done something, or it alludes to that.
It's not clear what they do, or maybe it's just a sports car. Yeah, it's not clear. So they're all looking around. The mom is talking to
Dimitri.
Yeah.
And they're playing
Dimitri
a game.
has had a fucking enough.
Yes.
He says, hey, let's get out of here. And then she's basically like, hey, you know, this is really great. I feel like I've fallen in love, met up with an old friend. And Dimitri's like, okay, I see how this is going. She says, myself. What?
Bingo.
Mind blown. She's having none of Dimitri. She doesn't feel they've clicked at all. Facts. And Dimitri basically is like, bitch, please.
Facts.
This is a lot more than I wanted. Now let's just end this shit. He puts her into a trance after she suggests bumper cars one more time. Yes. He says, no, hypnotism. So she's going to a trance. At this point, Adam sees them.
Yeah.
He makes an amazing shot.
What is he throwing?
A softball.
Where did he get it?
Like a carnival game, because the Harvest Festival, we should mention, is basically like a fair. There's a Ferris wheel.
And that would hurt. He threw it from like 30 feet away.
Yep. But immediately after getting hit,
teleports.
Or he has like super speed, which is like a decent like effect where it shows him like cool. Dimitri going fast to catch up, and he goes behind Adam.
Yeah, and then I think he took him behind something else. It looked like
he drags him by his ear behind like a corn dog stand or something.
Yeah.
The whole time Lynette is still behind, like put into a trance. It's a little mean. And then Dimitri gives Adam a talking to and is like, what the fuck can you do? I'm a vampire, you're a child. And
he's like, if you want to die, or if you don't want to die, you'll know what's what's good for you.
And this is where Adam gets the revelation that Dimitri is Wolfsbane. It's like, I didn't ask for you to fucking...
He's like, in fact, Adam, you did.
You requested me. In your email, didn't you
Wolfsbane?
say, please turn my mom into a vampire so I can go see the band? And then he says, yes, my name is Wolfsbane. And Adam doesn't react or say anything. But Dimitri says, yeah, I know. All the teenagers took the good vampire names. Which I don't even know what that's supposed to mean.
Maybe just a username on the account, on the website.
Oh! My mind is blown.
Bingo.
Unless it is supposed to be, a vampire name, which... Then I don't know why he just doesn't go by like Dimitri Wolfsbane, but then the mystery wouldn't have been there at all.
No.
And otherwise, it would have had to be like a Lost Boys joke. Other than that, it makes no sense because teenage vampires weren't a thing until like fucking Twilight. So.
Yeah. Disney was ahead of its time.
Or, Adam is well convinced that, hey, I can't fuck with Dimitri. So, Dimitri and Mom leave to go to the car. Chelsea catches up with Adam and is like, yo, what are you doing? We gotta go. And Adam's just like, nope, Mom's fucked. She's dead. We can't do anything. And it's like the most like, he's just resigned to the fact that, nope, Mom's a vampire now. All right, let's go live with Dad and stepmom, whoever. Like, sure, I don't care. And it's like, it's so weird, like how he gives up. And then Chelsea convinces him, even though Adam's like, we tried everything.
I mean, he just had this growth where he's reached his peak potential, and now he's just giving up. And
we tried everything.
Ups and downs.
What did they even try?
They threw a ball.
Yeah. This is like the first time, I guess, I tried to get a guy to dance with him.
Yeah, to get the dance.
I hit him in the head with a ball.
Try to get him kicked out of the club. Maybe 2 or 3 things.
Yes, I'm a horror movie nerd who knows all these rules about vampires, and
doesn't know how to utilize
I've tried
them.
everything.
Like, they haven't done.
Do they have no crosses in their house?
Wow.
Or did Disney just not want to like touch
Religion?
But even that's kind of weird. Like,
I don't know. Who knows?
In 2000, I don't think Disney would be worried about showing Christianity or anything like that.
Who knows?
So the mom and Dimitri go to the car.
Yeah.
Adam, now rejuvenated in trying to save his mom, says, oh, you know what? I know where he's going to go. He's going to go to his lair because that's where vampires go. Where was that? Oh, he said it was this haunted house.
On the lake.
So they head there. They get a taxi, and they actually end up beating Mom and Dimitri there because the car stalls because of something Duffy and the gang did.
Yeah. Who knows?
We'll see. It wasn't permanent because they'll get the car running soon.
With the help of a tow truck.
We get a weird kind of throwaway scene because it's mostly like, hey, there's some characters we forgot in this movie. Taylor and Malachi Van Helsing, who are driving around in the car. They like leave the restaurant. They're like, shit, we missed it. And hey, you said they were going to go dancing. Where would you go dancing? I don't know.
I'm just a kid.
I'm 8, which could have been a funny line, but it wasn't delivered well. And that was even like a scene before this, but here they're eating PB&J sandwiches and
his mom made them.
Yeah.
He doesn't live with his mother though.
Taylor asks, "Did your mom make these?" And for some reason, Malachi speaks so disparagingly to Taylor and says, "I don't live with my mom." It's like he's 8 years old and you're trying to like put a stab at him. He's like, "I don't live with my mom. I live in hotels like an adult." And it's like, okay. But then I don't know what it is, but yeah, eventually they do like a spell of some kind that guides them to the house. So everybody's converging at the lair of the vampire.
Yeah.
Dimitri's car we see now works. There's a tow truck there. Not clear what the tow truck did.
Who knows?
But they leave. The kids arrive at the house, which is shown by the lake with terrible CG effects because they couldn't find an actual house by an actual lake.
Yeah.
They get dropped off.
But they did find a house, which is by a lake, though.
Or a pond, at least.
Yeah.
There's some real body of water that they shoot.
Yes.
They get dropped off, Adam and Chelsea, by a very racist caricature of a cab driver.
Indian cab driver.
So,
hello, it is take you for the ride.
Not necessary, but they do seemingly pay him and tip him well. They sneak into the house and they're trying to find the coffin because vampire.
And that's literally, there's 2 things in the house. A piano, because he likes to play the piano in his 10,000 years of free time.
Organs, pianos, close enough.
So he's got his piano and then they have to go upstairs because the house is empty otherwise to find the coffin, by the fireplace, by the computer.
Yeah, I forgot to mention one of the actual other funny scenes in the movie is when they send the email out to Dimitri, we get a pan off from a computer in the spooky study. Yeah. There's a fireplace that just springs into flame, and then we see the coffin, and the coffin opens, then we just see an arm reach out to like click on the mouse, and then he laughs maniacally for having somebody swipe right on him. Is that the good one?
Yes.
Okay, not that I would know. They find the coffin in this spooky study. This is one of the most baffling sequences I think maybe has been in a DCOM. Because Chelsea says, "What do we do?" Apropos of nothing, Adam then says, "Do you remember that time where you kept the TV remote in your room?" Yeah. Well, how did I get it out again? I took your cell phone. And then he says, "Cell phones are to teenagers what coffins are to vampires." And then Chelsea says, "And mom's the remote." And
yeah,
very good, Grasshopper. Yeah. And I screamed. It made me so mad. Maybe that's what I'll put out like the audio at the end of this episode, because we can't do it justice even saying everything. It just pissed me off so much. It's so stupid. Oof. But then they try to move the coffin, and they're like, "Oh, it's too heavy." Well, that's where the analogy really breaks down. But then they're able to move the coffin
through a window that's several feet off the ground.
Yes, they're like, "Oh shit!"
They could have lifted inches before, but now they're able to hoist it up. And
we got to get it to the lake because vampires
and they are on the second floor. Remember, they went up. They did go upstairs.
So vampires can't go over open water, which is the thing in other mythologies.
Yeah,
which is seems maybe hard to enforce at times, or they can only go in their coffin over open water. So that's why they're like in ships in their coffins and stuff like that.
Okay.
But yes, they lift the coffin up to a window to toss it out, which probably would break the coffin. But also, yes, they're lifting it up more than if they tried to just carry it out, because when you carry something,
you only need an inch off the ground.
Yeah, you can carry it all right, but if you are like doing full lifts of it, that exerts a lot more strength. I know, because I'm you can't see me, but I am a built dude. I am extremely muscular and vascular. There's just veins everywhere.
Oh god.
Don't look up my Twitter account.
Don't look under his bed.
So they throw it out. They're dragging it down. Well, they don't even drag it down. They're able to like magically push the coffin in, and it just keeps going down the steps, like 3 tiers of stairs. And it's like, nope, it just keeps going. That's how gravity works. Yeah. And then as they finally reach it to the lake, that's when Dimitri and Mom pull up
in the car, and they kind of crouch down. I had mentioned earlier when they were in the restaurant how Dimitri kind of could sense that they were outside creeping in, which I thought would happen right now. But it didn't.
Instead, it kind of almost happens very shortly after.
He's almost like looking right at them.
Yes. I mean, it's movie stuff.
If he turned his head, they'd be like right there, And
very unbelievable that he couldn't see them. But they go inside the house, Dimitri and Mom, who's still in a trance. And in the house, this is where his vampiric skills come into play, because he smells something and he says, "Humans? Adam!" Which I thought was kind of a funny line. But so then he comes out searching. This is where we finally check back in again with Malachi and Taylor, who they have reached the house. Malachi leaves Taylor in the car with all the garlic possible in the world. Not just a clove, but like a whole... I don't know what you call them. You sometimes see garlic in like a rope. Or just.
It was a lot of garlic.
It was a lot of garlic.
A lot of garlic.
But Taylor's like, I can help. You're helping by staying in the fucking car.
Yeah.
Adam had pushed the coffin out onto the water. He's floating on it.
Jumped on top of it.
Chelsea hiding in the grass.
In a bush, yeah.
Dimitri comes out. He's like, "Fuck you, Adam. Give me back my coffin." And Adam's like, "Not until you give me back my mom."
And then Dimitri does like a quick
he smells
speed.
Chelsea here. Yes. Yeah, does his speed stuff to grab Chelsea, and a weird thing happens that as he grabs her, we see her clothes morph into a red
gown.
Evening dress, something like that, and then it morphs back. She seems to see that this happens, and it's not explained what the fuck just happened.
I think he says something maybe about...
so he says, "I could make her into my queen."
Yes.
Which...
Maybe
that doesn't mean you have the power to fucking change your clothes. And this is in the last 10 to 15 minutes of the movie.
Again, Disney effects just learned a new little thing they could do, and they just tried to flex it.
Well, I had to rewind, because at first I thought it was just an error in the effect where it changed the color of her shirt, but it's no, she had completely different clothes.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It was cool. Different.
Dimitri it's kind of a standoff, and then hey, you know what? I don't want you to eat my sister and my mom. They bring back the coffin. The kids drag it into the house onto the first floor in the room with the piano. And that's when, huzzah, Malachi Van Helsing appears and has a very lame fight with Dimitri, where Dimitri flies at him and then
he goes out the door. He opens the door or whatever.
Well, Malachi is implied that he does like a little like kung fu like dodge thing, which we should mention. Malachi is played by Robert Carradine, brother of David Carradine, who is martial arts kung fu guy.
And Carradine, at the very beginning, I don't want to spoil who this actor was, but he is also the father in the Lizzie McGuire not only show, but the movie. And he also is in Revenge of the Nerds. Yep. He plays the main character.
You interrupted. You can't ever not talk about David Carradine and not, he was in Kill Bill famously, but you have to talk about his unfortunate death during
autoerotic asphyxiation.
A little bit of that.
Yeah, where you choke yourself with a belt.
I think people
doing some nasty. Well, I don't know about people listening to a Disney podcast, but hey, mom, dad, kids.
Disney didn't foresee putting Robert Carradine in, and people would Google search David Carradine and find out that, he died with like a tie hooker or something. Yeah. But back to the super lame fight. So Dimitri flies out the door, starts to fly back in, and then
he shuts the door.
Malachi Van Helsing shuts the door on him.
And he hits his head on the door and he's pissed.
So then Malachi's preparing. He's like, hey, get back. He pulls out a big steak.
Yes, big
wooden steak, that is, not a T-bone.
For the blood. It's just for the good blood.
But then Dimitri comes in. They wrestle a bit. Then he throws Malachi way high in the air.
Yeah, it's a heck of a throw. And you see a body just flying through the air.
Crashes down onto the piano, breaks it, keys flying everywhere.
Yeah, so it was good image.
Oh, and then Dimitri's going over. He's about to suck Malachi's blood. And then to the rescue,
Taylor.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys.
Taylor hits him over the head with a stake and says, stop it. And then Dimitri's like, the fuck?
Hey, pissed.
You little kid, go away. He turns back and tries to eat him again. And then Taylor whacks him on the head again. And this was kind of a fun moment where Dimitri stands up and is like, basically what's been happening this whole movie is they've been completely underselling him as a vampire. He's like, what the fuck is up with this family? You are kids. I'm a vampire. You're supposed to be fucking afraid of me. Yeah. And they're like, whatever, boomer. Okay, boomer. And then he is like, oh, you okay, boomer me? Well, okay, Zoomers. And Zoomers weren't a thing. Okay, millennials. He puts them into a trance. Or not quite a trance, but he starts to make specifically Chelsea and Adam move on their own. They're not able to resist. Yeah. And he's about to bite Adam. And they're yelling like, Mom, help, save us. She's in a trance. Malachi is knocked out. Taylor's a child.
Well,
what's going to happen?
You do see Malachi, get up for a second. But as I said, he was a little too woozy to
But as they keep yelling, the mom eventually breaks from her trance.
Yes, from the love.
And then execute terrible slow-mo as mom's moving forward.
It's so weird. This next segment.
It's supposed to make it dramatic, but it just makes it
seconds
terrible.
It's all slow-mo. It's like quarter speed, not even half speed.
The mom breaks the trance, and then seemingly everybody knows the plan that's going to happen.
Everybody wakes up.
Where the kids move aside from the vampire, which apparently they're out of the trance now too. The mom shoves Dimitri as Malachi and Taylor are running over to the coffin, opening up the coffin. Dimitri goes into the coffin. Yeah. They close the door. Chelsea and Adam jump onto the coffin. Dimitri comes out with a giant nail gun.
Boom, boom,
nails the coffin shut.
They're silver.
Says they're silver nails, so don't worry about it. And I would say, but what about, I don't know, that he's a fucking vampire, not a werewolf. I've seen silver bullets be like used against vampires, but usually they set up like, oh, they're crucifixes that we melted down that were like made of silver.
Oh, okay.
But hey, whatever. And then it's just like,
and you hear him talking though. He's not done. It's not like he's like out of it. He's like, Lynette, help me.
That's good.
Let me out.
But yeah, they're just like, all right, work's here is done. Mom, how did you break out of that trance? Adam drops his movie knowledge and says, oh, it's usually because of true love. And then Taylor's like, is that it, Mom? You love us so much? But
no, like Lucas said, she loves her so.
No, I mean, the message of the movie is moms are for children and moms love their kids and their kids are the most important thing. But it would have been interesting and would never happen in a DCOM, but like the mom earlier was talking about, rediscovering herself, she was singing again, having fun, felt like she had found an old friend. If the idea was the love of herself, her true love for her own self, her personal growth is what broke her trance. But nope, it's just the kids. Kids.
Or maybe her love for Van Helsing.
But then, yes, Malachi Van Helsing is like, hey, you're a female. Yeah. And then he's like, I don't know.
I have a penis.
Oh, yeah. This is where he says, oh, well, I'm going to take him somewhere where he's going to have a bad time. I'm going to take him to the South Pole.
Yes.
Which is going to be sunny all the time, and then we'll take him to Finland, presumably for when the sun moves on the Earth's orbit, so then it's sunny all the time in Finland. It's like, I don't know, how about you just fucking kill him? Can you be a vampire hunter if you just imprison the vampires forever?
And how many vampires does he have down on the South Pole? How many is he? Where is he getting the money to do this?
Very true. Or
can't be cheap to be shipping a coffin.
Do vampires not need to actually like feed, because wouldn't they just starve to death without
this
blood?
Is post 9/11. How is he
No, it's not post 9/11.
No, not yet.
No, it's 2000.
Well, regardless, how is he
People
transporting
can move coffins fine.
with a body in him?
Yeah. I don't know. He like puts garlic or holy water in, it seeps through, and I don't know, knocks him out. Yes, not very clearly thought through.
But we're just digging too hard right now.
But then it's daytime, so they could have just opened the coffin so he could have fucking burned. But now, hey, let's go have breakfast. You want to come? And then Malachi's like, have you tried chocolate chip fucking pancakes? They're sublime. And the mom says, I already had the chocolate chips, because we did mention, I think, that they went to the store to buy chocolate chips.
Yes.
And then Malachi Van Helsing says, it's a date. Oh, no, not a date. No. Everybody says not a date. And the mom says, I don't date. Well, I date, just not vampires. And then I think there's a freeze frame. And then one little fun thing is throughout the credits, we continue to hear Dimitri talking. He first says Happy Halloween, because this was a DCOM that came out in October, which is a little, maybe a breaking of the fourth wall a bit. But then, he just keeps talking, and I didn't listen to everything he said.
Lynette.
For most of the DCOM credits, which are either forgettable or only memorable for the horrible songs they have playing, most notably the 13th year, this was kind of a fun little twist on that. So that was...
Mom's got a date with the president's vampire.
Mom's got a date with the president's ready to run. Great joke right there. Telejohn, this was one I think you were hyped about going into.
Yeah, this one and the next one are both ones that I really like. I feel like most of my favorite DCOMs are kind of like the spooky ones. Halloween Town, Don't Look Under the Bed.
Well, really, only Don't Look Under the Bed is actually spooky. Halloween Town is borderline.
I'll say Halloweeny. Whatever.
At least Don't Look Under the Bed and Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire take place at night or in the dark primarily, where Halloween Town, that's in the fucking daytime the whole time.
Yeah, and our next one, Phantom of the Megaplex, isn't really...
That's just a November movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's got the spooky vibe, but it's not necessarily a Halloween movie. But no, I really like watching this one again for the second and third time. Like I said, going into this, like, it didn't really feel like a DCOM, all the stuff that we've seen. I mean, at least DCOMs from recent memory, like the breaking of the fourth wall. I mean, we did get some, like you said, at the very end there, but
it was a breath of fresh air to not have narration or kids talking to the fucking camera. Even though I liked Quince,
and we didn't have all these different we didn't have like 5 different storylines. It kind of had Taylor and Van Helsing there for like a little bit.
Well, see, that's the interesting thing, where we did have multiple storylines, but...
It didn't feel like there was too much.
No, it was a good balance of characters. If anything, I thought maybe they could have done more with Malachi, and Taylor is kind of a fun little pairing.
Yes.
But what a lot of other DCOMs do is they don't necessarily have a ton of characters. They just have so many plot threads and things or themes they're trying to get in there. And that wasn't really an issue.
It starts off as one storyline and gradually breaks into the second with the mom and then Taylor later on. So,
I mean, if anything,
1, 2,
I think...
3.
Both of our criticisms, one of our main ones were that there could have just been more to it. It's just like, it's a single date. It just goes on for a while. And there's some interpersonal issues between the sister and brother. They're resolved. Is there a lesson learned? Not really. The mom goes through personal growth, but that's basically it. Maybe Taylor.
What I really learned, I think, most about this movie is Lucas has a crush on Duffy, and that's about
Duffy underutilized, I would say, for sure. Yes. That is the other thing, is if this was a DCOM, Duffy would also have played a much bigger role, a la Gilbert in Under Wraps, as well as Can of Worms.
Yes.
So my criticisms, I think, came up here as well as throughout the discussion, which...
Not top tier.
No. Maybe B tier.
Yeah.
Maybe...
above the halfway mark. I don't know.
It's just one of those movies where... It's a good thing to say where I can feel that, like... This was a good premise. Something better could have been made of it. But then I realized that literally that had already existed. And the creators of this definitely, again, not a big fan of Lost Boys, but like this is very taking a lot from Lost Boys. But Fright Night is not, I don't think it involves a guy dating, like a vampire dating the mom, but maybe I kind of muddled in my memories of that.
That does happen in Lost Boys, though.
But like... That
pairing.
You know, there's better kind of horror comedy vampire movies out there, but this is... Hey, it's a DCOM. It doesn't involve a sport. It doesn't involve talking animals. So that's a win in my book and a point in the side of originality that we don't always get. So, moving on, this would be the part of the episode if you wanted to email us that we might read that email. Just kidding. If you emailed us, we're going to read the email. It's not like we're inundated with a bunch of emails. I can't even joke about having, like, Viagra emails sent to the account or anything. No, but if you want to email us, you can email us at awholenewpod@gmail.com. But... I thought one little fun interlude we could go through, which is super dated at this point, but if we had more time in a previous episode or more timely, we could have done this before Disney Plus came out. But before Disney Plus came out, Disney made a giant Twitter thread about every single movie that was coming to Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Not counting the DCOMs, we're going to be going through those in our own way. But going through some of their older catalog of non-animated stuff, there's a lot of things that very much seem like they could have been DCOMs, except they were made decades before Disney Channel was a thing.
Really?
So I just thought I would go through some of these fun titles and describe, based on their cover art, what I think they seem to be about. First, in 1965, we have That Darn Cat, which just seems to be about an obnoxious cat. And I know this one got remade, I think Sinbad, or it was made in like the 2000s.
Oh, God.
The Ugly Dachshund, it was 66. So a theme also, which happened with early DCOMs like You Lucky Dog, but not so much beyond that. The Computer Wore Tennis Shoes, which based on the image seems to imply that there's a humanoid, there's a person.
What year is that?
1969.
Wow,
nice.
About a computer in 69?
But the computer seems to just be a boy who is a computer, just in
like a robot.
Alone. But yeah, he walks around like a boy.
Oh.
The Barefoot Executive, which seems to be about a chimpanzee businessman.
I have it on that one.
Followed by a $1 Million Duck, which is there's a golden egg on the cover along with the duck, so you can put the pieces together there.
Golden egg.
Justin Morgan Had a Horse.
Who's Justin Morgan?
I don't know, but I do know one thing. He did have a horse.
It's a horse.
And was he ready to run? I hope not. But same year as that, The Biscuit Eater, which just seems to be about a dog.
A lot of animals here, huh?
Well, they knew the market back then. We have... I gave Jake my login information for Disney Plus, so I saw that he was interested in Swiss Family Robinson. This might be a movie you're interested in, called The Castaway Cowboy.
Oh, golly.
Which is got a cowboy with a spear on like the beach on the cover, which sounds a lot like the sequel to Horse Sense we'll eventually get to. The Strongest Man in the World, which is just a guy lifting a lot of weights over his head and old people looking amazed around him. The classic, who could forget, The Apple Dumpling Gang, which was starring...
I think my parents actually really liked that.
What's this guy? Wasn't this guy the mayor in Quince?
Don Knotts.
Yes, Don Knotts.
Don Knotts
seems to be in The Apple Dumpling Gang, as well as the movie Gus, which is seemingly about a donkey that plays football. And don't worry, we're also going to bring up The Shaggy DA, which is a sequel to The Shaggy Dog, which you talked about in You Lucky Dog, and also was remade starring Tim Allen, also fairly recently. So much like You Darn Cat or A Darn Cat, whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
I've already forgotten.
I know what you mean.
We also have the first Freaky Friday, but you can also watch the DCOM, I think came out in like 2018 or 2019, where they made a musical Freaky Friday that we'll get to very far from now. The Cat from Outer Space, fairly self-explanatory.
Yeah, I would say so.
Who could wait for this sequel that everyone wanted? The Apple Dumpling Gang rides again.
I was showing my parents.
It came only it came 4 years after the original, so people were waiting.
I was showing my parents, and they were like, "Oh, we were looking through all like the old movies, like last year, whatever they had. The Apple Dumpling Gang."
It looks like something like Ernest Goes to Camp, where it looks like they're riding again, but it seems that they're holding a ball and chain as if they're in prison on this cover. So what happens in that movie?
Oh my.
Well, I want to know what happens in The Unidentified Flying Oddball, which seems to be about a spaceship that is in a castle. I don't know. Mr. Boogedy, which is a horror movie that has one of the worst cover arts I've ever seen.
I gotta see it.
It's kind of maybe reminiscent of how...
What is? It's like a mummy slash...
No, that's Fuzz... Oh, yeah. Well, then there's also Fuzz Bucket, which it looks like a half-shaved Alf alien monster.
Oh, my.
So, Mr. Boogedy and Fuzz Bucket are definitely two that I have...
binge-worthy, back-to-back.
I have morbid curiosity about. Turner and Hooch, which is just
classic
a movie.
Chevy Chase.
No, that's Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks, sorry. My bad.
That movie has a dog in it, but we want to know what movie doesn't have a dog in it. Cheetah.
Has a cheetah.
I would
Or
assume.
maybe a leopard. Leopard that stuck himself as a cheetah.
And then I think we just kind of get into real movies. Like, I just took snapshots of movies I wanted to watch, like Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. I've never seen it.
What? How have you not seen Honey, I Blew Up the Kids?
Well, no, that you're thinking of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves. Honey, I Blew Up the Kid is the third movie that I think was probably direct to video.
Oh, God.
So, Blank Check, which it basically is a DCOM, except it came out years before DCOMs were a thing.
Does a kid write out a check for $1 million?
You can put it together just from the title alone. As well as Santa Claus, the Tim Allen movie, which is terrible.
That's a Disney movie?
Yeah. It's a weird one because he kills Santa Claus in the beginning of the movie. And classic Operation Dumbo Drop, a movie I don't know enough about, but it seemingly involves airdropping an elephant somewhere. Well, something I do know about, or maybe I don't, depending on what universe I come from, is Kazam, starring Shaq.
What? I don't know that was a Disney one either.
Or is it Shazam, starring Sinbad?
Oh, no.
What about Jack, where Robin Williams plays an adult who's like a little boy? You sure that's not an Adam Sandler movie? First Kid, starring, speak of the devil, Sinbad.
Oh, my.
Also seems like it could have been a DCOM before DCOMs were a thing. And then here we go, 1997 was when That Darn Cat got remade over 30 years after the original. So, people are, there's too many remakes. How many Spider-Mans?
You know what I need? I need a Swiss Family Robinson remake.
I'm sure there was one, maybe just not made by Disney.
I think they made two. I think they made one in the 40s and then one in the 60s.
Well, here's a confusing one. Jungle to Jungle.
That's a good one. But Tim Allen.
It has the 2 in it, but it's not a sequel. It's just Jungle to Jungle.
Have you seen that one?
Yeah, I think I remember seeing it.
That's a good one. I think it has a boy, like his son, I think he brings to New York.
That sounds about right.
That's a good movie.
Flubber, not a good movie.
That's a great movie with, I can't even think of his name, Robin Williams.
And this movie had me so intrigued at how terrible it looks, I had to look up, and it sounds like it is quite the terrible movie. Meet the Deedles. 1998, it has the image of, I think it's about surfer bros, and in this image, their hair is in the shape of waves.
Whoa.
And it does sound like a DCOM, and it sounds terrible. And then we get to the era that we know of You Lucky Dog, which is the first listed DCOM on Disney Plus, because for whatever reason, I don't know why Under Wraps is not on there, which is a travesty for people who go to the DCOM section to look at the 90s, and the first one they'll see is You Lucky Dog.
Well, maybe
they'll probably just go to Brink, which is the third one.
Well, maybe we have to reach out to them and have them add Under Wraps. Maybe they don't even know it's not on there. Yeah. Maybe they just don't know.
Moving into 2000s, we get the prequel everybody wanted, the young Black Stallion. Yeah. How did the Black Stallion grow up into That Black of a Stallion, the aforementioned Shaggy Dog with Tim Allen, and I think that's about it. Then it just became pictures of anime figurines I wanted to buy.
Wow.
So hopefully you enjoyed that little detour. It was something I wanted to do for an episode or two.
Speaking of detour.
No, that's later. Closing up shop. Follow us on Twitter at A Whole New Pod. All one word. Subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Play. Follow us on Spotify. Now you can subscribe to us on YouTube.
Yes.
Like, comment, subscribe. Every single video.
Yes.
Put Quince or some shit.
Yes.
Hit the bell.
Yes.
Because that's the thing I'm supposed to say.
Notifications, I guess.
Smash that like button.
Yes. Smash it. We're at 7 subs right now. 2,100 views. We'll
heading into the holiday season, if you're an American, with Thanksgiving, or if you're abroad, Christmas and other stuff like that, if you're doing traveling with some family, recommend us to your family members.
Yeah.
And hopefully they don't ostracize you from the family as a result.
Listen to us, when you're just sitting down for some turkey.
Yeah.
Put us on your Alexa.
Here, you got a Bluetooth speaker sped up. You'll throw on Netflix the fireplace. TV turns into a fireplace, and then
Jacob
over
and
the
Lucas in the
speakers,
background.
put on Halloween Town, the episode. Nah, that's not a great one. Put on Quince or Smart House, Genius, any of those. Just not Johnny Tsunami, probably not the best jumping off point for people.
No.
Again, the email address if you want to write us is a wholenewpod@gmail.com. And I think all that I have left is I can give Jacob his Twitter account plug-in.
Yeah, Jacob_Telejohn, JACOB_TELLIJOHN. Follow me for all your daily fantasy sports updates and random retweets. So.
Or dead memes that get dead too quickly. And to take us out, you got something to say?
I'm going to Disney World!
I mean, that's just a fact.
Yeah.
What a shill, giving out Disney shit all the time.
What are we gonna do? Wait, do you remember when you took the TV remote and kept it in your room?
Yeah.
How did I get you to give it back to me?
You stole my cell phone.
Right, and cell phone is to teenager what coffin is to vampire.
And Mom's the remote.
Yes, Grasshopper. Now help me get this downstairs.
Okay, this is where the whole cell phone coffin analogy breaks down.
Well, if he's a vampire, what's he drive? A hearse?